Well, let's talk to Helen Dolphin. She's a regional chair of a driving mobility centre and an expert on blue badges. Helen, thanks a lot for talking to us this morning. So more inclusivity, it sounds like a good thing.
I think it is. I think it's been too long before people with non-visible disabilities have been excluded. And, some councils have given badges and some haven't. So I think it makes it much more kind of, people will know where they stand, whereas in the past, perhaps they didn't.
Can you give us an idea about these invisible disabilities?
There are things like, they can be physical conditions, such as someone that's on a transplant list or has, kind of physical problems. But there's also things like, autism, Asperger's, and we heard, dementia. But it's not just going to be like mild. It's quite severe. I think the kind of definition is someone that's kind of a danger to themselves or others. So it's not going to be, a kind of a free fall of badges. It's going to be very regulated. And I think there are fears that there's going to be, enormous swathes of people qualifying. But I think the kind of criteria is set so high that I don't see that happening, although it is going to be for local authorities to ensure that they have the kind of spaces and provisions available for the extra numbers of badge holders that are going to be coming onto the scheme.
How do you assess people to see if they are eligible?
Well, I think for physical disabilities, it's been reasonably simple. That you can see it, or you get people to walk consistent. They respond. Whereas with non-visible disabilities, it's clearly a lot more difficult, and people are going to need to provide evidence from kind of health professionals that kind of know them and their conditions, kind of justifying why they would benefit from having a badge. So it's not people just self-declaring, oh, I need a badge, I have this condition. People will be having to show medical evidence and prove that that is indeed the case.
Local authorities will have the final say. Do you think that's correct?
Local authorities have always had the final say in who does and doesn't get badges. And I think that is correct, because there are kind of local differences about kind of badge holders. And this is the way that it's always been a kind of a local scheme, which is good, but as well as being a national scheme. So it is kind of complicated in that respect, but it's kind of easier if you're going to your local authority and asking for a badge. If you're called in for an assessment, it will be with your local authority in your local area, supposed to be using them. But in some city centres, I think it's 1 in 4 people are now using a badge which doesn't actually belong to them, which, is taking away already 1/4 of the spaces available for blue badge holders. You add more badge holders into the equation, and spaces are going to be so hard to come by. And already where I live in Norwich, if you don't get into the city centre before sort of a certain time, then the chances of finding an on-street parking bay is virtually nil. So I do think they're going to need to be looking at that, and also the off-street parking operators, may be needing to increase the numbers of accessible bays that they have in their car parks, because you don't want people not being able to find the bays and the wider bays that they need to be able to kind of access the goods and services.
Okay, Helen Dolphin, thank you.